Hello, cowards and compatriots. My name is TBSGuy, and welcome back to the boss designs of Dark Souls. If you remember last time, we managed to finally destroy Ornstein and Smaug through a lot of experimentation and a lot of persistence and just raw skill on my part, as well as summoning Solaire to do like half of the work for me so that I could, you know, not get completely destroyed. And we managed to indeed destroy them. We met up with a rather suspicious-looking big, giant, very sexy lady called Gwendolyn or something, who flattered us a lot and sent us back to Firelink Shrine, basically, where Kingseeker Frampt kept flattering us a little bit, and then he gave us a laundry list of targets that we have to kill. And so at this point, we are a little bit in a position of not having an obvious next destination to go to. It seems like the game has opened up, and there's 4 bosses out there somewhere. Gravelord Nito, and Seath the Scaleless, and the Witch of Isolith, and something other stuff.
The beings who possess these souls have outlived their usefulness, or have chosen the path of the wicked.
I don't want to look at you.
As the primordial serpent, I implore you to defeat them and claim their souls. Let there be no guilt. Let there be no vacillation.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting a sense that I'm being railroaded into something here that serves interests that may or may not be quite my own. But given that we don't have a clear path forward, I saw in Anor Londo I found a door that has now been opened with the claiming of the Lord Vessel. So that's an option. And then, of course, there's just the option of going out and exploring a little bit around the place. Sort of willy-nilly, like maybe going through the Valley of the Drakes and see if we can find something in there that, without getting, you know, horribly murdered immediately. Or perhaps go through the graveyard over here. Now, I've been through the graveyard before, but that was about 30 or 40 levels ago, when I didn't really have all this lovely chunky boy gear. Or this very large, very powerful sword. So I'm a little bit curious to see what happens to a skeleton like this one when it gets hit in the face with a big chunky sword. Well, that is certainly a lovely thing to see. They're not worth a lot of souls, but it's quite satisfying to come back here and just kind of tear them to pieces, especially this guy. Especially this guy. Oh, that's satisfying. Oh, that's good. Yes, I like that a lot. But I've never actually been through the graveyard because these skeletons were so damn impossible to deal with that I don't really know what's on the other side of it. Boom, 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 boom. What's down here? Let's go find out. Nothing bad could possibly happen. Oh, what the hell is that? Wait. That's explosions. Oh my god, they get back up. And I don't get any souls from them either. Okay. There has to be a way to make them stop. But this apparently is not it. Oh my god. I'm almost bleeding. Oh, well, there's a bonfire. That's something. Oh! Oh, I'm getting souls now. Am I killing them finally? Oh, was that guy like a necromancer or something? Yeah, because they don't seem to be getting back up anymore. Well, that's nice. Oh, are those all bugs? Oh, those are all bugs. Oh, no, I didn't see them before. Ooh. Pretty. Hello. Oh, don't run away, Mr. Man. Oh, come on. There we go. Oh, this is gonna suck. But this is a nice change of pace from Ornstein and Smaug. And from the Silver Knights. That's a fog door. But those spikes on the side tell me that trying to skip ahead might be a bad idea. I kind of feel like if I'm gonna find the Gravelord Nito anywhere, this seems like a pretty good bet. for where might be hanging out. Ugh. Why can't you climb small ledges? Like, I know you weigh about the same as a small tank, but surely a tiny ledge like that is possible to climb. And now there's these guys. Oh, also that. That's a thing that happens. Uh-oh. Okay, I can block it. That's nice. Is that a severed head he's got? Ah! Well, that's probably bad. Okay. Where is he? There you are. I see you. Well, that did not do anything obvious. I mean, at this point, I'm just tempted to jump off. But those spikes on the side tell me trying to skip ahead might be a bad idea. Oh, what the hell was that? Oh, I guess I clipped one of the spikes and then that counts as a knockback? Oh, FromSoft, you bastards. I walk among you as a god among skeletons. Be afraid, skinny ones, for the chunk has come. Okay. So... no jumpy off. Jumpy off bad. Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh, do you rotate periodically? Is that what's going on with you? So that someone will walk onto you sort of unawares and just get... boned? Bonfire. That's a secret wall. Bonfire! Hey! Nice. That's convenient. That may be the first time that a message on the ground has actually helped me find a bonfire. Or helped me find a secret wall, more specifically. Ow. I guess there's nothing for it but to chunk it all the way across. Don't rotate and throw me down. Ah! Shit, I knew it. I knew it. Did I not know it? I knew it. That's a Titanite demon. Well, no getting back out now. At least not the way I came. Hey, Dark Moon Seance Ring. Whatever the hell that does. Seriously, where's the Necromancer? Oh, I found you. I found you. I'm gonna chunk the hell out of you. Okay. Let's see. What's the ring do? Granted to adherents of Gwyndolin, the Dark Moon deity and the last born of Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight. So we've got Titty Lady, and we've got someone I have to assume is Gwyn. And then we have an empty space. As though someone was kind of supposed to be there, but is mysteriously missing for unknown reasons. Okay. Is that... yeah, that doesn't seem fatal, so I can get out of here. Look, I just want to leave. Oh, I'm back here. Right. Oh. Oh, hello. There's an item there. I mean, I could probably survive the fall. Ah! Uh-oh. Nope! Oh, right, there was this ladder. Oh, hey.
Huh? Oh, how are you then? Lost my way, yes. But when I came here, I didn't touch any levers. No, not me. Very peculiar, isn't it? Wait, did something happen to you? Hey, don't look at me like that. I trust your patches. The one and only. Everything's good with us, eh? Oh, come on. Take it. We'll be wonderful friends.
I get the distinct sense that he's not very trustworthy. Anyway, now that I've seen that item, let's just get agile for a second. Oh, son of a bitch! Okay, so the way to do it is, I guess, from here? Okay, let's give it a shot. Aha! Okay, well, that wasn't a super great treasure or anything. So there. Okay. Not dead. Still not dead. I'm alive. Is that a cutscene? Oh, that looks bad. Why do you look like Cthulhu skeleton? Oh, he's a strong boy.
Be gone with you.
He's a dwarf.
You'll spoil my focus.
Okay. That's not a boss fight, I guess. He's a skeleton with a beard. That's a bearded skeleton. That's what that is. He's a skeleton with a beard. He's also a blacksmith? So is this guy a blacksmith? Or is he actually going to kill me? So he's a really interesting character, actually. Because, like, the thing about a skeleton, for example, is how do you do a character design with a skeleton when the skeleton is literally, like, there's not really a lot to work with? And he's a really good example of just get dumb and do weird, crazy shit by giving him some... I guess it's armor plating? It's a helmet that he's wearing or something along those lines? That projects the beard down in front of him. It seems to be something along those lines, and giving him some shoulder plates and stuff. And then just... literally just taking a deforming tool to our normal skeleton and kind of making it chunkier and making it a little bit sort of more squat and stuff. Okay, where does this lead? What the hell is that? Don't know what that is, but I want them dead. Good grief. Oh my god. Oh, you are more trouble than you're worth. Oh my god. I guess we deal with you guys one at a time. And preferably in close quarters where you can't roll away from me. Good grief. Good grief, that was annoying. I found a necromancer to get rid of. A skull lantern. What does that do? Lantern alights the tomb of giants. Nito's light-devouring domain of death. Oh, so it's... I can use it as a light source? Oh, neat. That's quite handy. Oh, hey, whoa! Oh boy. Okay. Floor is dangerous. Floor is bad. Back to the bonfire just to get our things. Ta-da! Oh, hello, dark tombs full of skeletons, my old friend. I've come to kill some skeletons and you again. Because I fell down the wrong hole I shouldn't have fallen down. And now I'm in the wrong place, as far back from where I want to go. Well, that was a pointless detour. Oh, all the spinny boys are gonna be back, aren't they? Yep. They out here spinning. I'm just... if there's a boss in there, I'm just gonna go. Well, I have 3 Estus flasks, so this should be fun. I guess I have to drop down there. Alright. Okay. It's the Skeleton Man, who makes all the skeletons. He has many arms. Oh, that's masks. I recognize that mask. He has many faces. Okay. Pinwheel, huh? Oh! That's more than one of him. Okay. So, we're definitely, like, the pinwheel thing is apt, given his character. He's literally got spokes on him. Like a wheel. I do seem to have done kind of a lot of damage to him, though. Okay. Ah, I see there's multiples of him, are there? No? What, that was fast? Okay, well, that was a quick one. I'm not sure if that's a full episode of the boss designs now, since we have, like, what, 10 seconds of fight footage? So, yeah. So this was a boss that was mostly about the creepiness factor. And with the multiple limbs, obviously, there was an element of being a tinkerer, of being someone who, you know, plays with things, maybe experiments on them in creepy and unsettling ways. And that certainly seemed to be the case with what he was doing to the skeleton. And especially also, I guess we can do some of the design of the lair that we find the boss in, which is this watery pit of books, basically. But yeah, it's this disheveled mess of books, and there's a bone saw, multiple bone saws lying around, and an experimentation bench. So it's someone who's clearly obsessed with knowledge, but also a hoarder of knowledge. Someone who, like, tries to take it all for themselves. This is not a library. This is like what dragons do when they make a giant hoard of gold and lie upon it. This is chaotic. This is messy. This is greedy. Wait, this is a giant coffin. This whole thing. That's why it looked so weird with the opening of the... This is a giant coffin. Oh, what the hell needs a coffin this big? Oh boy. That's a big thing. Appropriate to have the necromancer boss literally be inside a giant coffin. That's too big for him. Which signals something about maybe the character's meant to be a little bit impotent, like chasing some ancient ideal of whatever, something necromancy or whatever, that he can never attain. Oh boy. Got dark in here all of a sudden. Oh man, if I didn't have the lantern, this would suck. It's oh so quiet. It's oh so still. I hope I don't have to fight anything. Tomb of the Giants. Well, yes. That makes sense. Well, there's light down there. Oh! Oh! Oh, hello! I recognize that little peninsula. That's where the discharge hangs out. Well, there's gotta be a bonfire somewhere, surely. Ow. Oh, there's more than one of him. Fortunately, it looks like every hit I do knocks him down, so... Oh, I remember how annoying you are. Okay, that's him gotten rid of. I guess we'll go back to the bonfire when we die. How many people are around? How the hell did you get down here? But are you telling me the truth at all? Yes! Oh my god. Oh my god. They told me the truth again. Thank you. Okay, let's have a look at Pinwheel's stuff. Did we get any stuff from him? Did we get a soul? Nope. Well, we got this. This secret rite allows bonfires to be bolstered further with kindling so that even more Estus can be collected. Kindling was a sacred rite, yada yada yada. That's not any information about him. One of the 3 masks of Pinwheel the Necromancer, who stole the power of the Grave Lord and reigns over the catacombs. This mask, belonging to the naive child, slightly raises stamina recovery speed. Okay, so that tells us a little bit about who Pinwheel is and why he's down here pretending to be. So he stole the power of the Grave Lord. So that's an interesting bit, because we already talked about how Pinwheel just is like, he's kind of too small for what he's trying to do. He's this kind of small, pathetic, you know, imitation, essentially, of I guess, Nito, the Grave Lord. This tiny little corpse in a very, very big casket that he can't quite fill up. So there's definitely an element of like, especially since he gave me the mask of the child. He has other masks, I guess, but there's an element of him as an imposter, like as a bit of a child playing at being an adult. And you could also kind of see it in the way that he was tinkering with the skeletons. Like, he was tinkering, he was sort of messing with them, he was poking at them, he was experimenting. He didn't really know what he was doing, but he was obsessed with obtaining the knowledge, and he was obsessed with hoarding knowledge and knowing things. And the character design itself, I mean, I didn't get that much of a look at it, honestly. He's got the 3 faces, which tells us that he's more, not just 2-faced, but 3-faced, that he's untrustworthy, that he might be deceptive. There was this big robe that was kind of bulgy and a little bit unappealing in a way. So I'm kind of curious about that, but the job of explaining what the heck is up with that, I suppose, is going to have to be going over to Future Skyen, who's probably going to be able to pull up some concept art, hopefully, or something, and take a little bit of a closer look at the easiest boss I have faced so far in the game by far. Poor little Pinwheel. Take it away, Future Skyen. Well, thank you very much, Pat Skyen, and yes, that was certainly the briefest boss fight that we've ever had on this series, which leaves us with not that much to work with, and I do believe we covered most of what Pinwheel is about in the desperate discussion I tried to kick up during the episode so that I could justify turning it into a video. Now, I decided to go looking on the wikis in order to find the item descriptions for the Mask of the Father and the Mask of the Mother, the companions to the Mask of the Child that I picked up from Pinwheel, because I figured maybe the item descriptions for those would offer me some extra information that I didn't necessarily have in the video. In the course of that, I stumbled upon, well, first of all, I realized that nobody else really seems to know what Pinwheel is all about either, because he doesn't seem to have a massive lore presence in the game. But I also came across a couple of fan theories about what Pinwheel is and why it looks the way it does. Now, we don't usually cover fan theories on this show because the show is more about me delivering sort of my take on the characters that I run into, but the fan theories here were interesting specifically because of the ways that they diverged from my thinking on the character. The fan theories tend to zero in on Pinwheel as a person with a history, a backstory, and a reason to be who they are. For example, one theory takes the fact that he's wearing these 3 masks, the Mask of the Father, the Mother, and the Child, as a bit of storytelling telling us who Pinwheel is and why they are so obsessed with the knowledge of necromancy. Pinwheel, in this theory, is a father who lost his wife and child and who sought to steal the power of the Grave Lord Nito to learn necromancy so that he could revive them and be with his family again. Now, that's a theory that also fits a lot of the stuff that we talked about when we were walking around his little casket lair and analyzing the stuff that was happening in there. The discarded books in a desperate search for knowledge, the constant tinkering with dead bodies, and so on. However, the more I think about Pinwheel, the less I see him as a person with a backstory, and the more I begin to see him as a symbolic character. For example, let's start with the masks. The Mask of the Father, the Mother, and the Child are obviously representatives of the typical family unit, but the father, the mother, and the child are also something else. They are Jungian archetypes. Now, I want to stress that I'm not a psychology expert, but Carl Jung is a fairly important figure, especially in Western psychology, and someone who's also had an enormous influence on the ways in which we read pop cultural media. Jung theorized, basically, that there exists a series of universal archetypes, a series of images or characters or feelings or situations that are universal across all human beings and which emerge themselves in all cultures, in all places, across all time periods, in all humans, a part of the collective unconscious, as it were. So, the father, the mother, and the child are fairly popular Jungian archetypes, and they, as a trinity, represent a full fan of the human experience, at least from a very traditionalist, heteronormative point of view. The man who becomes a father, the woman who becomes a mother, and the child who must grow up to be one of these. When you enter the lair of Pinwheel, it turns around and regards you for a little bit, and then it seems to look essentially at itself. Its three masks seem to be conferring about what should be done about you, and then, of course, they settle upon violence. But Pinwheel, as it is presented to us, seems to embody three distinct consciousnesses, which then go to work on you by splitting Pinwheel into three different clones. Now, there's a contemporary of Jung whose name is somewhat more famous, and that name is Sigmund Freud. Now, Freud believed that the human consciousness could be separated into three constituent parts: the id, the ego, and the superego. And again, I'm going to have to simplify for the purposes of the video, but basically the id is the primitive, instinctual, biological desires of a person. You know, stuff like sex, violence, food, that kind of stuff. The superego, on the other hand, is the consciousness of moral rules and values. That is to say, it's the part of the consciousness that is conscious that you shouldn't kill people, and that you shouldn't have sex with absolutely everything just because you want to, and that it is a bad idea to eat chocolate for every single meal. Finally, the ego is situated between the id and the superego, and kind of has to mediate between them and the realistic world, where the id is constantly screaming for gratification of various kinds, and the superego is constantly demanding that you live up to impossible values and morals, like you live up to a perfect ideal that can never be attained. The job of the ego is to mediate all of that stuff to the real world, where it is usually impossible to be a perfectly good person, and it is usually also impossible to satisfy all carnal urges at all times. So, how does that map onto Pinwheel? Well, you can make the argument that the child, the naive child who does not quite understand the world, who's driven by instincts and wants and emotions, well, that is the id. The father, described in the mask as a valiant legend, is the superego, the ideal to which you must live up, the man who you must grow up to become, which leaves, of course, the mother as the ego, kind, caring, nurturing, and responsible for mediating between the unrealistic desires of the child and the equally unrealistic ambitions of the father. Now, you could also make the argument that it's the other way around, and that it is in fact the father who's the ego and the mother who's the superego, but you get my point. Whether we read Pinwheel's design through a Jungian or a Freudian lens, however, what we get is Pinwheel as a representation of humanity, and more specifically, human psychology. And that puts the layout of his lair, and indeed some of the creatures that he surrounds himself with, into rather a different context. Because if Pinwheel is itself a representation of humanity, a dark mirror of humanity, and if you want to be Jungian about it, perhaps a shadow of humanity, then we get a rather different story about who humans are in the world of Dark Souls. Because what Pinwheel did was he attempted to steal the power of a god, and now that he has that power, what does he do with it? Well, he sits around and obsesses about death and mortality. He obsesses so much that he collects volumes upon volumes of knowledge, carelessly discarding them because he does not value it except for the power that it brings to him himself. He sits around tinkering, experimenting, and getting caught up in his own neuroses, torn between multiple different personalities at war inside his fragile human mind, as he occupies a tiny little space in a coffin meant for something that was far grander and greater than him. And in this context, it's also relevant to look at some of the creatures that Pinwheel has surrounded himself with, because they are all the dead, but they're not just the dead, they are often also the tortured. We can see this inside his lair, which is adorned with skeletons that are hanged from the ceiling, in obvious references to torture methods of the past, and indeed the skeleton wheels that we fought inside that little reservoir or whatever that cave was. They are skeletons attached to something called a breaking wheel, sometimes also known as a Catherine wheel or an execution wheel, and from that name you can guess what the wheel was used for. Now, I'm not going to go into detail with how exactly the wheel was used to torture people, but just let it be enough that the torture was absolutely brutal and grueling, often done in public, and almost invariably fatal. And so, what is the storytelling here? Well, the storytelling is that humans, having usurped the power of God, turn it on each other and use it to create an environment of nothing but suffering and death. All of it powered by that screaming schizophrenic human psychology that is so mired in neuroses and so at war with itself that it can never use its power to create something beautiful. That's why the world of Dark Souls is broken. That's why everything has fallen apart. And as a lovely little stinger, a little kicker to the humiliation of humanity, the rite of kindling, which Pinwheel drops, has this to say. Kindling was a sacred rite passed down among clerics, but all undead can imitate the process in the same manner that they restore their hollowing with humanity. How peculiar that humans had found little use for humanity until they turned undead. How peculiar that humans did not learn the importance of being human until it was literally all that stood between them and a slow, agonizing death. Yeah, we don't come off looking well in this one, do we? Anyway, that is just my reading on the Pinwheel character. There is so little actual lore available around him that, as many fans have done before me, you can really create whatever theory you want around him and make it fit, although I do feel I am on pretty solid ground with the idea that the masks are symbolic of human psyche or consciousness, because like that whole mother-father-child dynamic is so common in that kind of imagery. Anyway, it's an interpretation. You are free to disagree with it if you like, but that was the best I could come up with for the character that I had in front of me. Hey, thank you very much for watching another episode of the Boss Designs of Dark Souls, this one being blessedly short compared to some of the almost hour-long monsters that have been coming out as we get further and further into the game. I don't know if that's going to keep going, or if the next boss is going to kick my ass so thoroughly we're going to need a 2-hour double episode in order to get it done. The Boss Designs of Dark Souls and a lot of the other content I make is supported by Patreon. The direct contributions I get from people on Patreon or through direct donations, and the links down in the description, are pretty much what funds videos like this one, because they take a hell of a lot of editing work and they don't really make a lot of ad money because there's not that much money in this kind of thing. So thank you very much to the people who are supporting me on those services, and thank you to you if you would like to consider giving me a monthly subscription or a tip, just to say, hey, good job on making the thing, because it's really what lets me do these things and still also pay my rent and have clothes and food and stuff. Of course, if you're not in a position to, or you just don't want to support the channel monetarily, watching the video is payment enough. Hitting the like button is also very much appreciated. There's also subscribe, and there's also the bell icon, and I have to remind you of those in every single video, because according to YouTube science, otherwise you will forget to do it. So here we are, all of us prisoners to our own psychology. See how I brought it back around to Pinwheel again? I'm very clever like that. That's why I have this job. Anyway, if you have not enjoyed this video, well, I'm very sorry for your loss in spending all this time on a video that you did not enjoy, but there is a dislike button down below that you can use to make that dislike known to the world. We are, all of us, sitting on the precipice of an infinite abyss that will swallow us and render us as though we had never existed at all. Give it 100 years and most people will never have known that any of us ever existed, but if what you want to do when faced with the infinite maw that swallows us all is stare it in the face and say, hey, that YouTube video sucked, then honestly, that's not the worst thing you can put on your gravestone as an epitaph. Thank you very much for watching.